DC's Batman Under the Red Hood from 2010. It's a solid story, but is it worth checking out during this time of shelter at home? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler talk review for Batman Under the Red Hood. I can't believe this movie came out in 2010. It is a decade old. I might have seen it for the first time like back in 2010 when it came out. So I want to say a huge thank you to Adam Daly because this video comes as a request from him. I put out a few weeks ago when shelter at home began and movies stopped coming out. I said, hey, what would you like me to review and to analyze and to dig into? And this was Adam Daly's request. So Adam, thank you for requesting this and giving me the opportunity to go back and rewatch this movie for the first time in I don't know how many years. So thank you so much for that opportunity. And if you have a movie that you would like me to review or analyze, let me know of that in the comments. And while you're there, if you saw this movie, what do you like better? Do you like how this movie told the story of the Red Hood, or do you like how the story unfolded in the video game Arkham Knight? Let's talk about that in the comments as well. I'm gonna give this movie a solid B. I think it has a very good, deep, and engaging story with a very powerful lesson, and I think the animation looks terrific. But what keeps me from giving this movie a B+ or even the A range, I think it's the voice cast, which is a shame because it has a tremendous voice cast. But I kind of had a hard time with some of the characters. Now, Bruce Greenwood, like, I had a hard time in the beginning because, you know, I see him as Captain Christopher Pike and Star Trek and stuff like that. And so, like, it was hard for me to see Batman when I first heard his voice coming out of Batman's mouth. But he did a really good job. And it did not take me long to get used to that. The one that was pretty hard for me was Neil Patrick Harris as Nightwing. I'm sorry, because when I hear Neil Patrick's voice, I see Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother, or I see Count Olaf from the Netflix show A Series of Unfortunate Events.
I'm armed.
So am I.
Child's play.
Adorable.
Is that a harpoon gun?
It's very hard for me to not see that. Neil Patrick Harris, he is very talented. And so, like, he has these characters that just stand out to me. And when I hear his voice, I don't see Nightwing. And here I am watching this animated movie, and it's not like he did a bad job. He did do a good job. But I'm hearing that voice, and I can't unsee Barney Stinson or Count Olaf.
I didn't realize the sound went so quickly. I bought it online. You're gonna need to flip it a couple of times.
I'm having a hard time with the fact that I'm hearing that voice and seeing Nightwing. So it's not that it was bad. It was hard for me visually. The other thing was Joker. That I haven't heard of the actor that did the voice for Joker, but I felt like there was a certain charisma missing from the voice. And it's hard to not compare it to Mark Hamill. It really is, because when you're watching animated Batman, it's so easy to go straight to the Mark Hamill Joker because that is the quintessential Joker. But I can't help it. Like, there was a certain type of charisma to me that just wasn't present in the Joker's laugh or wasn't present in the Joker telling a joke or the overall voice work. Like, the lines were good and stuff, and it's not like the voice was the worst voice I've ever heard for the Joker, and it definitely wasn't the worst Joker performance.
You left me in a black hole of rage and confusion.
But there was just a key charisma for me that was missing that I look at and go, yeah, that's the Joker. So it's not like all that was super bad and it wasn't enough to take me out because it didn't. I was still able to enjoy the movie. It's just those were certain splinters that were standing out in my mind. Jason Isaacs did the voice of Ra's al Ghul, and I think he did a great job. And Jensen Ackles was the voice of the Red Hood. And, you know, Jensen Ackles from Supernatural. And I think he did a great job as that voice. So a lot of the voice work was good. That's just some of the stuff I was pointing out that kind of stuck out to me. Like I said, the story of the Red Hood is a very powerful story. Because you have Batman that already has so much that he's seen and that he's dealt with. I mean, he watched his parents die in an alley. It was the thing that inspired him to become Batman, to fight crime and bring criminals to justice, to stop what happened to him from happening to somebody else. And so, like, you see why he's Batman and why he won't cross that line. But he's been through a lot of pain in his life. And the Red Hood, this movie begins with the death in the family storyline, where the Jason Todd Robin is captured by the Joker and beaten to death by a crowbar. That it was a pretty awful death that the Joker inflicted on this character, and Batman did not arrive on time to save him. And so now you have Batman dealing with that, and this story picks up 5 years after that event, 5 years after the death of Robin. And what did Batman do? He hunted down the Joker and handed him over to justice. He didn't seek out personal vengeance. He didn't try to kill the Joker for killing Robin. He didn't do an eye for an eye thing. No, he handed the Joker over to justice. So now enter the Red Hood. So the Red Hood comes, and what he's going to do is he's going to fight crime by being a crime lord. So you have the Black Mask, famous Batman villain, now even more famous after the Harley Quinn movie, but the Black Mask has really taken over organized crime in Gotham, and now you have the Red Hood who's chipping away at his kingdom, not to make it come crumbling down, but so that he could be the crime lord. And his philosophy, you can't stop crime. If you can't beat it, join it, or in this case, rule over it. So he's going to try to be in charge of the crime and just control it. So maybe it's not so bad. So he wants to control crime in Gotham City. But what we really find is this is Jason Todd. And I love the scene where Batman discovers that this is Jason Todd. Because Nightwing and Batman are engaged in a battle with the Red Hood. And both Nightwing and Batman are impressed with the Red Hood's skills. It's up there with the level of Batman. Like, it's incredible skill. And when they're fighting by a train, the Red Hood jumps on a motorcycle and he turns to Batman and says, "You haven't lost your touch," and then a train goes by and you don't hear the rest of it. But Batman, with his Bat computer and Batnology, he goes ahead and filters out the train in the audio that he recorded, and he hears, "You haven't lost your touch, Bruce." So the shock that this guy knows who he is, Batman stands up, his eyes get wide, it's insane. And it doesn't take long for him to figure out that it's Jason Todd. And then for Alfred to have that moment where he drops the tray that he's carrying to bring Batman tea or food or whatever, and he sees the DNA match that the Red Hood is indeed Jason Todd, the shock. And I think what that does is it does a great job bringing home how personal this was for Bruce and Alfred. So that's a powerful moment in the story, because you see that Batman took on Jason Todd as Robin to save him from the streets, to save him from the direction he was going in, to impart in him a vision, to impart in him morality, and to give him the gifts and skills to carry out that good vision and to give him a hope and a future. So you see, this is what Batman wanted to do, and impart that into this Robin and give his life like a strong, firm purpose. And then Batman already carrying the weight of not saving him, of not getting there on time, and now seeing he's turned into this bad guy who's taking over crime, who is killing the bad guys, and, is going after the Joker. And I feel like this is the most powerful part of the story, because I think the story illustrates this. Unforgiveness is a prison. When we hold unforgiveness, it's actually holding us. We are a prisoner to that unforgiveness. Now, I just did a collab with Rachel Wagner over on her channel about this very same topic. But this topic is just so rich in stuff to talk about, and I just felt like this was such an epic picture of vengeance owning the Red Hood and how forgiveness could have set him free. I couldn't help but dive into it here. What we see in this movie is Jason Todd hates the Joker. I mean, come on, he beat him to death with a crowbar. He hates the flippin' Joker, but his hatred of the Joker gives the Joker power over him. The Joker owns him. He's imprisoned to that moment. He's imprisoned to his anger and his bitterness. Him hating the Joker and trying to get vengeance on the Joker is actually him drinking poison that's hurting him from the inside out. See, Batman taught him, you fight crime. You don't succumb to it. So he comes to Gotham and he succumbs to crime. He wants to rule it. Batman taught him, you don't cross that line and kill, because if you do that, you become the monster that you're fighting. So he comes to Gotham to take over crime and crosses that line and kills the bad guys. And now finally this ends with this showdown where Red Hood catches the Joker. Jason Todd has the Joker, puts a gun to his head, and he says, I'm gonna blow his brains out. Okay? If you don't want me to do that, you kill me. The choice is in your hands now. He dies or I die. You know what he's really trying to get at this moment? Batman, do you love me?
I thought I'd be the last person you'd ever let him hurt.
Because earlier there was this scene where he said, if the Joker killed you, I would have hunted him down.
If it had been you that he'd beat to a bloody pulp, if he had taken you from this world, I would have done nothing but search the planet for this pathetic pile of evil, death-worshipping garbage.
Why couldn't you do that for me? So in this moment, he's trying to give Batman that chance to do that for him. So this bitterness has distorted his view of what love is. And now he's trying to hold Batman hostage to become a killer himself. And Batman says, you think I don't want to kill the Joker for the pain he's inflicted, for the crimes he's done, for what he did to you? It would be too easy to kill him.
But if I do that, if I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
He wasn't going to cross that line. And even in that moment, he was showing Jason Todd real love by trying to redeem him and bring him back to the light and lead him away from this moment. But Jason Todd's view was so distorted by bitterness that when Batman chose to not be a part of this and turned his back, Jason Todd pointed the gun at Batman to kill him. And you know, Batman used that as an opportunity to destroy the gun and save both lives, and so it didn't come down to that moment. And yet again, Batman turns the Joker over to justice instead of holding on to that vengeance. That's what Jason Todd needed to do. In fact, what he really needed to do was take his anger and turn it over to God. Forgiveness is not saying I justify that sin. It was not okay what the Joker did to Jason Todd. But it's not okay that he's holding on to that unforgiveness. It's not okay that he's holding on to that vengeance because it's destroying him. He needed to follow Batman's example and turn it over. He needed to take that hatred and that unforgiveness and hand it over to God. See, when we hold on to unforgiveness, it's like holding on to the bars of our own prison. And when our fists are this tight and we're just hanging on, we're not open to receive. In Mark 11:25, Jesus said, when you stand praying, forgive anyone if you have anything against them, and your Father in heaven will forgive your sins. So if we want to receive from God, we got to humble ourselves. He had to let go of his right to be angry and his right to vengeance, because God said, vengeance is mine. He needed to remember that and turn the Joker over to God and release the Joker from his heart. That didn't mean they needed to be best friends. He needed to catch the Joker and, put him back in Arkham Asylum. That's what he needed to do, but he didn't need to hang on to that hatred. The longer he held on to it, the more poisoned he became, the more the Joker owned him, and the more that hate had authority over his life. You have to overcome evil with good, not with more evil. And had he had turned it over, he would have found freedom from the Joker. He would have found freedom from that hatred and from that bitterness. From that moment, Ra's al Ghul brought him back to life in the Lazarus pit to the end of this movie. He was letting that anger rule him and control him, and it was changing him for the negative on the inside, and it was distorting his vision. And I feel like that's a very powerful picture. And in real life, we do have to let go of our unforgiveness. We have to release that bitterness and let God love through us. God understands it's not easy, but God loves us unconditionally. When we ask, he forgives, and it's gone, period. He does not hold that against us ever again. So of course, he wants us to love the way he loves and forgives the way he forgives. And he knows we're not him. He knows that's a struggle. But when we make that a choice in our heart to release that bitterness, when we make it a choice to let go of our prison bars and open our hands to receive from God, he is faithful to meet us where we are. He is faithful to love through us, to forgive through us, to walk with us through it and change us day by day. Forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes we got to do it every day or several times a day. But like I said, when we make the choice to forgive, he meets us there with his presence. He meets us there with his power to help us overcome and to truly be free. So what did you think of Batman Under the Red Hood? Do you like this story, or do you like how it unfolded better in Batman Arkham Knight, the video game? Let's talk about that in the comments. And yes, giving it a B, it's definitely worth your time to check out during this time of shelter at home. I think it's a good story with a great picture. What did you think of this movie? Let's talk in the comments. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next movie review, ranking video, theological analysis, or anything else I do here. Like and share this video. I'm Durbin. Thank you. Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.